And welcome back, everyone, to Beyond the Forecast. I am Chief Meteorologist Michael Stevens, and I already hear you through the TV. You're saying, why are you wearing the same stuff that you wore yesterday? I'm on vacation. I shot these yesterday, so bear with me. You're going to see this tomorrow, too, with me in the same suit. It's not the same show, or I should say episode. I just shot them at different times. All right, so with that being said, today, meteorologist John Gross will break down flooding. We have seen almost 2,000 flood warnings, individual flood warnings across the United States since the beginning of July. So he is going to break down flooding and what you need to know about flash flooding and the differences in each type of flooding. So we'll have that coming up in the first segment. And then meteorologist Haley Fischetti will tell you about weather balloons, why the National Weather Service uses them twice a day, and what information they provide to us out there across the United States, because your taxpayer dollars pay for them. So we'll have that coming up in the last segment. And then, of course, we'll have a segment from our Beyond the Forecast live streaming podcast to round out the show. So let's dive in first, though, into this day in weather history. So this day in weather history, July 17th, 1934, was one of the worst heat waves in the history of the nation. Extreme heat claimed 679 lives just here in Michigan, and 300 of them were in Detroit alone. So this week, really, but started July 17th, 1934, one of the worst heat waves ever in the nation. So there you go. July is, yes, the hottest month across the country. But back in 1934, as well as 1936, during the Dust Bowl era, they had ridiculous heat across the United States. All right, trivia time. Yesterday, we wanted to know, what does the Beaufort scale measure? Does it measure rain, dew point, storms, or wind strength? Well, it's wind strength. So if you said that, A+ for the day. All right, today we want to know, what month has a record amount of tornado touchdowns in the U.S.? Is it June, April, May, or July? QR code right there. Hit it with your phone, and it will take you to where you can input your answer. And then, don't worry, if you don't know the answer, we'll have it tomorrow on Beyond the Forecast. All right, your Thursday weather word of the day. Today is hook echo. Now, hook echo is a distinctive radar image that is indicative of storms updraft rotating. So usually the radar that you see on a normal basis is greens, yellows, reds, and oranges. But with a lot of tornadoes, you can't make those out on reflectivity mode on radar, which is what you normally see. But if a storm is big enough and you start seeing a little hook that starts to come off of that storm, you can see it rotating. That's a hook echo, and that's really the only way that you can actually see a tornado on reflectivity of radar. So, hook echo. That is today's weather word of the day. All right, viewer photo of the day brought to you as always by Great Rooms. Today's picture is sent to us from Tammy Stroud. Tammy sent in this amazing picture of a black bear just outside of Marion. It is so peaceful, and I swear this bear is smiling. But it was an absolutely gorgeous photo. Tammy, thank you so much for sending this picture in. And as always, thank you to Great Rooms for sponsoring viewer photo of the day. All right, let's send it over to meteorologist John Gross to start the show, and he's going to tell you about flooding. Like I mentioned before at the top of the show, we've already had 2,000 separate flash flood warnings or advisories across the United States since the beginning of July. So John's going to break down flooding for you, what you need to know, and the different types of flooding coming up right after the break.
Hey there, everyone. Meteorologist John Gross, and today we're going to be talking about what exactly constitutes as a flood, flooding safety, and the differences between what a flash flood watch versus a flash flood warning means. Now, flooding here in the United States is one of the most common and one of the most costly natural disasters we have occurred over the decades, or at least observed over the decades. And you probably have heard of the term flood before, but this is exactly what we're talking about. A lot of heavy rainfall that can lead to rapid water rising in low-lying areas, especially if you may have an area near your home that's prone to flooding, or you might see water collecting with a very saturated ground very, very quickly, as well as any local rivers potentially near your home that have the potential to overflow their banks. So here's a look at some stats when you're talking about not only a lot of water, but especially if it has a current with it. Now, you never should be walking or you never should be driving through any flooded roadways. Again, here's a look at some of those stats. 6 inches of water can sweep you right off your feet. So that can be very, very dangerous if you're trying to walk through any flooded areas. When you're talking about the water getting up towards a foot, 12 inches of water, especially with a stronger current, that has the potential to sweep a small car or even an SUV downstream. And even still, while it's not as common, 18 inches of water, that also has the potential to carry a large truck, an SUV, or potentially even a bus, depending on how much water and how quickly that water is moving. So when you're talking about flash flooding concerns or just flooding concerns in general, one main thing that us meteorologists always try to drive home: turn around and do not drown. So here's a look at the difference between a watch and a warning. And we have talked about this during Severe Weather Awareness Week, and that also applies to flooding concerns. So when you're talking about the flash flood watch, conditions are favorable for flooding. We haven't seen it occur yet, but it's in the forecast that we have that chance to see heavy rainfall occurring in a very, very short period of time. So that's when you need to be prepared. When you're talking about that flash flood warning, you're talking about flash flooding being imminent or it's already occurring. So you're seeing that water collecting in that low-lying area very, very quickly, potentially even with the current. So that's when you need to take action. That's when you need to get to higher ground. That's when you need to turn around, do not drown, find an alternative route to your destination, and get there safely. So another good way to talk about that watch versus the warning, I think this is a great analogy that sticks with a lot of people. You're talking about tacos. Just another excuse to talk about tacos. So here it is, taco watch. We have the ingredients to make tacos. Flash flood watch. We have the ingredients for a flood to occur. We have the moisture in play. We have the chance for heavy rainfall. We have not made a taco yet. We do not have the flood yet. Taco watch, flash flood watch. When you're talking about the taco warning, flash flood warning, we have tacos, we have flooding occurring right now, so we need to take action right now. I'll go ahead and get right in the middle of it, and we'll explain it one more time. Taco watch, we have the ingredients to make tacos, we have the ingredients for a flood to occur, but we do not have it yet. Taco warning, flash flood warning, we have tacos, we have a flood occurring right this moment, and that's when we need to take action. So preparing for a flood. If you've never occurred or if you've never been through a flooding situation, it's always a good idea to make sure that you have a plan in play. And one of those main things is to know your risk. Do you live in what's called a floodplain, otherwise known an area that's more susceptible for flooding, more so a low-lying area? Water can collect very, very easily. So knowing that, also checking in on the financial side of things. Do you have flood insurance? Are you in that floodplain and you do not have it? Should you have it for your car, your home, anything that you would need to be insured for in case you have water damage due to a flood? Clearing storm drains or any loose debris, especially here in Michigan when we talk about winter time and you have plows that are moving a lot of things, stones, rocks, things of that nature. Those can get caught in storm drains and then block water from properly running off. So making sure that those are clear of any debris, and also, unfortunately, flooding can lead to power outages. So making sure that you have any electronic devices charged up, and also making sure on your devices that you have multiple ways to get alerts for your area in case you are ever issued a flash flood watch or a flash flood warning. I'm meteorologist John Gross with Beyond the Forecast.
Thanks, John. Now, coming up next, we are going to send it over to meteorologist Haley Fischetti, who will break down weather balloons and why the National Weather Service uses them on a daily basis. We'll have that right after the break.
Welcome back to Beyond the Forecast. It's meteorologist Haley Fischetti, and today I'm sitting down and talking to you guys about weather balloons. You might have heard that term the past couple of weeks online or on the news, so I decided it's best to just sit down with you guys and have a conversation of what weather balloons are, how we use them, and why they help our forecast in northern Michigan. So let's get into it. First of all, what is a weather balloon? Now, a weather balloon is the best platform for us to get observing temperatures, winds, relative humidity, pressure, really anything you can get as a current. That's where we're going to use a weather balloon for. They've actually been around for quite some time. Mainly, the National Weather Service is in charge of launching a weather balloon twice a day, 8 o'clock in the morning and 8 o'clock at night. This has been going on since the 1930s, so pretty early in American history for weather. We've been using these weather balloons to help us get a current look of what the weather looks like all across America. But what's actually interesting is weather balloons in some sort of way have actually been seen in history since the 18th century in Europe. People actually using kites or umbrellas, hooking up a thermometer to the machine and trying to lift it up in the air to get a current temperature at a higher atmosphere. We've been seeing this in early weather history for quite some time. So to be still using a product like this and to be practicing weather launches today shows just how important this really is to what we do every single day. Now you might be wondering, how do we actually launch a weather balloon? It's actually a really cool process, and if you can, go to your local National Weather Service to see it. It is something to watch for. In college, I got the opportunity to sit on a few weather balloon launches, even in high school. What you first do is you start off with a latex balloon, and they fill it up with helium. Normally, there's an observer from the National Weather Service who is in charge of this, the first one being at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they fill up the balloon with helium, attach a bright orange parachute to it, also a string with a radio sound on it. Now, a radio sound is a sensor that keeps track of the temperatures, the pressure, the relative humidity, and the winds. Kind of your machine that holds all the data. It's really tiny. Honestly, it's kind of like this size, very light, very tiny. It's able to lift up with the balloon and the helium to get all that information. When the observer starts, they normally turn on the radio sound first to get your baseline. Now, the baseline is kind of what we call your constant. So at the surface, at the ground level, you're picking up what the temperature is, what the pressure is, what the relative humidity is, the winds, what we all know at the ground level. So when you can start the balloon, you'll see the difference from what's happening at the ground and what's happening all the way up in the atmosphere. The observer then lets go of the balloon, and the balloon rises up with the radio sound, with the parachute, and gets all the information as it continues to go up in the atmosphere. And that's where we can see that difference in pressure, in winds, and in temperature. All really important information that us meteorologists use to determine whether a storm is coming in or if we're going to have quiet, calm, sunny days. This normally happens twice a day. In the morning to get your morning sound where you can pick up the information throughout the day, and then also at night. As it's rising in the atmosphere, we back on the ground level, the National Weather Service is getting information every single second to see the difference of what temperature is happening as you rise in pressure in the area. Now, for us, our local National Weather Service, Gaylord, they get to do it, and they'll tell us what they see via a sounding. So once the balloon pops, the parachute and the radio sound fall back to the ground level, and we can pick up the information from that radio sound on the computer. That then produces a sounding where we get all the information and kind of a data pinpoint of what's going on in the atmosphere. And that helps us in many different ways. That can help us with our local forecast. If we see severe weather, we'll see a change in pressure or in winds, and that will help us know how a system's going to affect us. It also helps with computer modeling. Every single day when we forecast, we use models on the computer to help us see into the future. And with that, soundings from our weather balloons help us determine what the future is going to look like and kind of give us a little bit more of an insight of what's to come, especially when it's all across America at the same exact time. So if a weather sounding looks crazy to the west of us, we can then be prepared to see what's going to happen to us in the future. You'll even notice that during severe weather, we might actually get more than 2 soundings a day. Depending on the severity of the weather, we sometimes will issue more than one so we can actually see in real time what's going on in the atmosphere. This helps us with local forecasts on air when we deliver the weather to you guys, but also in research when meteorologists and researchers across America or in college, they can help see how these weather soundings help in the future when it comes to the weather. So that's kind of breaking down how important these weather balloons are to us and how we use them every single day. Now, weather balloons are really important here in northern Michigan, especially because of how dynamic our weather actually is. We see different things happen all the time. I mean, take the past couple weeks, for example, seeing winter temperatures and then record-breaking temperatures, feeling like the summer almost for a few of us. Those weather soundings gave us an insight of what we could expect across northern Michigan. And unfortunately, we are actually seeing a decrease in weather balloons moving forward. Gaylord, who normally produces about a weather balloon twice a day, just got downgraded to only doing it once a day in the morning. So that means we're actually in the dark at nighttime for what current situations are happening in the atmosphere, which can really hinder our forecasts moving forward, especially during a severe weather outbreak. So that's why weather balloons are super, super important to know what's actually going on in the atmosphere. Even in Green Bay, they're losing a weather balloon sounding a day. And that also helps us as they see what's happening over the lakes. And that's going to impact us as we head into the summer months as well. So that's just a little insight of how important weather balloons are, and some of the cuts that we are seeing for weather balloons are impacting us on our everyday forecasts. But we'll have more information and deeper information on those weather balloons coming up.
And welcome back, everyone, to Beyond the Forecast. I am Chief Meteorologist Michael Stevens, and every week we have the Beyond the Forecast live streaming podcast, every Tuesday, in fact, at 10 a.m. And you can catch it on the 9 and 10 News Facebook page or the 9 and 10 News YouTube channel, or also my professional Facebook page. And we talk about the week that was weather, also some of the top headlines that need to go along or kind of brought to light, and also just what you want to talk about topic-wise when it comes to weather. This week, we talked about the week that was weather-wise, but also we had an adult discussion about cloud seeding, what it is and why it's important. And then we also talked about the Perseid meteor shower, and then also bugs. Check it out.
Do a chat on flowers.
Ooh.
Flowers. So I'll give you an idea. I should take a picture and share it with you guys when I get home. My wife, I don't know how much Haley plants around
I don't.
her place.
I would say I'm be so real. If we start talking about flowers, I'm gonna know nothing.
Our yard has, our backyard has a apple. I don't think it is. Maybe it is. But a Honeycrisp apple tree.
Cool.
We have a lilac tree. And then we don't mow through most of May so we can get milkweeds for, you know, the things that love milkweeds,
Right.
AKA butterflies. And then we also have a bunch of the purple, I don't think they're lilacs, but they're purple wildflowers in Cadillac, and they grow crazy in our neck of the city. So we let that go through May, let the bees do their thing, and then we'll mow by the end of May. But we leave our front hill with wildflowers. We took wildflowers and seeded them a few years ago, and every year they come back.
That is so nice.
So we don't mow the front hill through the summer. Has milkweeds, has a bunch of wildflowers. And then in the front, we have hydrangeas?
Yeah. That's,
I think. We have roses.
are they like the little bushel flowers?
I think so.
Yeah, that's hydrangeas.
I think. I could be wrong. Kyle will have a better idea. We have
Yeah,
roses.
Down the chat.
Yeah, let us know what we have in front. We also have these purple balls that bees love. I call them the bumbleflower. I can't remember the name of it, but they come back every year.
Cool.
This year they were huge. And then on our fence, she put in a new plant last year or this year. I can't remember. But anyway, it took off. But we also had clematis show back up. It's a vine that we put on our fence.
Yes, yeah.
Last year, 2 years ago, clematis showed up randomly, and we thought clematis was dead. So that came out of nowhere. Then we have two bushes on the top of our stairs coming to our front door.
Okay.
that we put there 3 years ago, and they're huge. They're taking right off. But our apple tree even has grown probably an additional 6 feet this year.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, everything you can see the new growth.
So again, every Tuesday at 10 a.m., you can tune in, chat with us, we talk about weather, the live streaming podcast for Beyond the Forecast. So thank you for joining us today. I do appreciate it. For meteorologist John Gross, meteorologist Haley Fischetti, I'm Chief Meteorologist Michael Stevens. Be good, stay safe, take care. We'll catch you guys all tomorrow when it's Friday, right here on Beyond the Forecast. Bye, everybody.